Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with me again today. A little housekeeping before we meet today's guest. If you haven't signed up for the FUMS six pack, be sure to do so. It's a weekly email with the top six topics in MS from that week. I do the curation for you. No need for searches for MS news. I deliver it to your inbox every week. Sign up now at fumsnow.com/get the scoop. And one more thing, if you would please go to iTunes, Apple Music, whatever in the hell they're calling it now, and leave a rating and review for this podcast. I'd so appreciate it. The more those I get, the more Apple shares the pod and the more people are helped. And that's the ultimate goal. So if you would help me with that, I would super appreciate it. Thank you in advance. Okay, so let's get to it. Today's guest, one of my favorite people, is Tamara. Just kidding. Tamara rhymes with camera. We were just joking about that. Tamara Sellman is a returning guest on the pod. Her last appearance was episode 31, and I'll link to that in the show notes. Tamara writes about MS. It might be an article highlighting research. It might be a column documenting her journey with MS, or it might be a poem or an essay cracking open the complexity of living with MS, something we can all relate to. Today, she's celebrating the release of her first book, Intention Tremor, a hybrid collection chronicling the 5 years following her MS diagnosis in 2013. Welcome, Tamara. Look at here. Look what we got. Yay.
It's alive. It's real. It's a real thing.
It is a thing. It's a real thing that I'm holding on to and have gone through many times. You should see everything's earmarked and noted.
I have to say that even though the big goal is always to sell a book, there's nothing more gratifying than knowing that someone actually read it. I mean, it's
right.
An age when everything is. We were just talking about this too, about how we're not reading, we're like plugged in and tuning in and changing a channel or whatever. But
okay, I'm going to cop to that. I know what you're referring to, and I'm going to cop to that because I have not been reading much lately, but I've been reading this. But when we were talking about, I was asking her to do a reading for us today, and I said, turn to channel 26, and I meant page, but that's the mindset we're in. I mean, I'm just constantly on a channel.
That could also just be MS too, you know.
Okay, let's blame that.
Let's blame MS.
Because I'm down for blaming that bitch for everything.
One word for another. It's just a random.
Right. Yeah, I meant page. It said channel, but anyway. Yes, thank you for, for getting me out of that. Okay, so if you would please, and this is if you listen to the last episode 31 that she was on here with us, a lot of this will be a repeat. So what? If you would please share with the community your MS journey of your diagnosis and your personal path to get to where you are today.
Sure. And you know, every time you tell it, it's a little bit different.
And a little different.
I was talking about sleep health at the last one.
I was going to say, we concentrated more on that. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I woke up, tying it back into sleep health, I went back to school at age 47 to become a sleep technologist.
That is a badass move, by the way.
Oh,
that's badass.
It was hard.
Yeah,
MS or no, your brain just doesn't work.
Right.
When you go back. But I was getting ready for finals for that first semester or whatever period. And I opened up my giant tome of a sleep medicine book and I could see just fine. I mean, I drove places to read this. I was in a coffee house at the time and I couldn't read. It was weird. I mean, I've worked as an editor and as a writer my whole life. So reading is kind of like something I do,
you know, important. Yeah,
kind of a skill. And I ended up looking at the page and it wasn't like I had black spots or anything like a migraine might suggest. I could see the letters, everything was crystal clear, but I couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. It may as well just have been like the Cyrillic alphabet or some other, language I have knowledge of. So right away I was like, okay, what is this? And I was already really tired. And of course it was finals and I had, I was raising 2 teenagers. So, all the stress, triggers kind of pop.
Little stress there. Yeah.
So I called a doctor and I have a great doctor. He's retired now. I'm so sad because he was just fantastic.
They're not allowed to do that. The good ones should never retire.
No, right. I know. Because they're really hard place.
Have to find a good one after that, I bet.
And so I went in and he took a look and asked a few interesting questions. This is my primary And then literally across the parking lot at the same clinic campus is an MRI. And he said, there's an opening. Let's just walk you over. I mean,
Let's just have a little
isn't
look-see.
that crazy that you can
See
even
what's
get
going in
in?
there. That is
Yeah,
fantastic.
weird. But, it's kind of a small, remote, not super remote, but a smaller, like outlying community. So I suppose there are fewer, appointments. And so I got right in. I had my first sudden MRI. So that was, not something I was prepared for. And then literally 2 days later, got the phone call from him saying, yeah, the radiologist and I looked at this and it looks like you have MS.
That is the fastest diagnosis story I've ever heard.
Well, that's
Really.
like the preliminary, because he said, because I really can't diagnose this. You have to actually go see a neurologist. So he hooked me up with a fantastic neurologist in Seattle. And then I went and saw her. And then it was about 6 weeks later, after all the poking and the prodding and the weird visual tests and the spinal tap and walking
all
down
the fun stuff.
All that fun stuff that she confirmed it. And it was pretty textbook. But then we started kind of looking at symptom clusters throughout my life. And it's likely that I've had it my whole life, because I distinctly had an experience with the MS hug when I was 9.
Oh,
that was in 1975.
That needs to be renamed. Don't you agree? I mean, hug is so nice sounding, and that is so not nice.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
So, and then having had fatigue my whole life, always just thinking it's because I'm a working mom or I just do too much because I'm an ambitious person, right? But back actually in like 2000, right after September 11th, actually, I had a bunch of symptoms that I just ignored because sometimes that's what you do. Like I had parasympathetic, I just thought, oh, it's just, my back is tired. Because I had a 3-year-old and,
Oh, yeah.
I was getting sick a lot, like weird things. And, but this latest round back in 2013, I was having a lot of ears that were ringing, they're ringing right now. Can't you hear them? I can.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of the journey. So I got to so really pretty quickly was diagnosed. And then the last, almost 8 years, because it was almost 8 years when my preliminary diagnosis came. I've just been learning how to live with it. That's sort of the story. And I'm just the kind of person that's like, I'm not going to get to where I wanted to go initially the same way, but I'm still going to get there one way or another. And it's going to be on my terms. And I just feel like it can really step in the way of our plans, but that doesn't mean we have to cancel everything. I know I have to cancel a lot. I usually call myself miss 30% because I miss 30% of everything. But,
right.
Because, stomach or headache or whatever, something that's, tied in.
Right.
But, I just keep going, because what else can you do?
You do keep going. Holy cow, though. Well, you have a choice, though. You have a choice, though, and that's the thing.
Right.
You could have just hung it all up, but you chose not to. And I think I'm such a proponent for that. Like have purpose and be productive, and life just looks better, right? And you are a shining example of that, because you've had quite a career, including going back to school at 47. That just still amazes me. And P.S., you kept going, and you got that. Is it a certification? Is that how you say that? Or
I got 2 medical credentials out of it. Yeah, believe it or not.
Holy shit, girl, that's a lot.
Well, and the reading thing, it did come back. I've now discovered that it is definitely a symptom of MS that comes if I'm really tired and I've just overdone it.
Yeah.
And so it will creep in every once in a while, but I know it will go away as long as I usually means I have to stop reading and leave my computer and unplug and get what my doctor prescribed as brain rest, and then I'm okay.
Smart. So. And it just makes all the difference in the world once you know. I remember the first time that I had the I've heard it termed lots of things. Optic migraine. Where I have no pain, but I get the auras, I get the spinning, I can no longer. Mine often emulates a stroke. I can't speak.
Oh no.
It's awful. And the first time or two was incredibly scary. And it was many, many years before I was diagnosed with MS. It was years after I was diagnosed with MS that I even put together that had anything to do with it.
Right.
But once I knew, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to die from this. And I know what helps is just go lay down, and it passes. It
you know,
sucks, but keep going, right? Keep going.
going.
Just
And
keep
I have to
going.
say, I need to lay out some credit here to two people in my life. One, her name is Jennifer, and the other one is Janice. And they are people in my life that I knew for a very long time before I was diagnosed who have MS.
Oh.
And they both have been just, for me, great examples. One of them runs a city bookstore, and the other one,
Mm.
she's now retired, but she was a life flight nurse and a critical care unit nurse. So these are
Sheesh.
people who did not give up either.
Yeah, right?
And so
You
when
had
I
some
yeah, I got this
good
diagnosis and I was like, oh, well, you can still have a life.
what
So
you
it
do. Yeah. It had
wasn't
been
a death
modeled for you.
sentence.
That's so good.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness
that's
for
so
them.
helpful. That's
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely.
So you have obviously rolled with the punches and kept going. Um, and I know that your background has been in writing and everything, but writing and writing articles and writing poetry and writing all these things is a far cry. It's pretty different to deciding to write a book and then going for that. So what made you want to write a book, and specifically a book of poetry about MS?
Well, writing for me is a lot of things, as you pointed out. It's a way to earn a living, and it's also a way for me to learn things. I learn so much when I write, but also it's kind of a therapeutic thing. So for me,
Mm.
when I'm going through some heavy emotional stuff, I tend to write a lot of poetry in particular. I have to say, after the 2000 election, there was just weeks and weeks of it's so funny
Yes,
look
waiting.
back, but
Yes.
that whole Gore Bush,
Yes.
dilemma of the hanging dangling chads and all that. I mean,
Yes.
I had so much insomnia, and so I wrote so many poems, and
Did
I
you?
use it as a way to just allow myself to get back to sleep even. But
Brilliant.
I started writing in earnest, writing this book in earnest, because one of the things I do, which a lot of people do, is I start looking for other people's stories to learn from. And I
Mhm.
found that you can find all kinds of clinical stuff and informational service pieces about how to do this, or
Mhm.
inspirational maybe, but not just really internal
Mm.
emotional work about it. And I feel like
Mm.
we as a
Great
community or
point.
as a society, we need more ways in emotionally to
Yeah.
understand illness, not just MS, but anything. So
Yeah.
I felt like, well, I need to write this for myself, but then once I'm done writing it for myself, I also want to make sure that it can work for other people who are,
Translate. Mhm.
yeah, translate, and not just, again, not just for MS. It could be
Right.
people just trying to overcome social hurdles or the
Yeah.
science hurdles, understanding the biology, etc. So,
Yeah.
well, then, yeah, I
So
started
amazing.
writing it like 6 months after my diagnosis, about, yeah, and then I just made a plan, and I just stuck to it. So,
Yes. Stuck to it even though there was a pandemic. So tell me about that, because we all none well, most people don't really understand the inner workings of a book tour and promotion and all that goes with that. We think we know. Um, but regardless of whether we know or not, obviously a pandemic is going to throw a monkey wrench into any of that. So, what did you envision and how has it turned out?
oh, okay. So first of all, a first book is like getting married or having a baby or losing your virginity. There's only one first time, right? There's
Yeah, right.
only one. And I've envisioned,
And as with all of those, it could be painful or it could be pleasurable.
yes, right, or it could be a combination, right?
Yeah, right.
I have to say that I have known I was a writer since I was 5 or 4, maybe. When I started actually writing, I was a very precocious youth.
Wow.
I knew that I was going to spend my life writing that early. Um,
Gosh,
so of course the
what a
goal has
gift.
always been to have a book. So this is my first book, not because I haven't written enough for other books. I've written tons, but it's all short form and it's never been put into a book. And I've
Mhm.
also spent a good chunk of my time helping other people get their books out into the world, which is also really wonderful, experience that
Mhm.
I've had. So, um, and so the big plan was to have the big tour, where you could go into a bookstore and you could go to like an MS conference maybe, or a
Right.
library or whatever, any kind of arts event, and have a place to sell your books, but also to read from it, to interact with people. Um, and although I didn't have too many high expectations, because when you're just a debut author with a poetry book, there's like no budget or money or
Mm,
support team to help promote that book. If you're super
mhm.
famous, then that comes
Then
built
you're
in
in. Yeah.
contract. That doesn't work for people like me. So I knew I was going to have to do some legwork. I didn't realize I was going to have to do this much legwork though, because
Yeah.
in order to get the book in front of other people, you're going to have to do things virtually. And that means learning all kinds of new apps and, how to do graphic design and use the tools I already had that I rarely used. So it was like having
Right.
over
Learn
again.
them all over again.
Social
Thank you,
media.
MS. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, there are days when I'm just like catatonic after a day of just trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to upload something to YouTube or whatever. I mean, 'cause
Mhm.
that's
Oh
what
God,
I'm
me
used
too.
to doing,
Yeah.
So social media has been good. It's really noisy right now because of COVID
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
politics. So it's
Mhm.
really just have to keep doing it and just hope the noise, gets cut,
Yeah.
breaks, so
Gets
someone
through.
can hear you. And that's really
Yeah.
hard. So it's hard, but my vision has changed from having the big blowout party like you would at a wedding,
Yeah.
to having a slow, soft launch virtually.
Uh-huh.
And then when we can all get together, then go out and do public things.
Party. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, I have this new big backyard. My husband is building a stage in the back because he's also a musician, and we just love to have people over for that kind of stuff. And I'm having as many live reading events as possible when the day
And
comes that we can do that safely.
and
But
I can't wait. So you know where I am. Send my
yes,
invitation. We'll
yes.
do a little gardening
Oh,
together.
yes.
I'll
Oh,
sing with your husband and I will clap for you as you read. And I'll
oh, that sounds
toast
like
to all of
oh,
it.
that sounds like so much fun. I just can't wait. I
Yeah,
really,
nothing like inviting myself, whatever.
oh, you're
Um,
totally invited.
well, I loved so you have a tour concept that is kind of ongoing and you're doing
Yes,
multiple events. This being one of them, actually. I was so
yes.
honored to
Very,
be
oh,
included in this. So
honors.
the thing that I first attended was so cool. I just loved it. And you were
Good.
doing readings from your book and answering questions, and it was just so cool. Are you doing more of those?
I am. I'm in the middle of organizing a bunch of those with some other writers, who either have MS or a chronic illness, and they have a new book out, or it could be anyone anywhere who's a new writer, who's what I'm calling a pandemic writer, because we all have to
Oh,
batch
I
together and
love
collaborate,
that.
help support each other, and so
Yes.
those could be really eclectic readings, and I'm kind of looking forward
Yeah.
to those too,
Oh,
because
I can't wait. I
the
want to do it.
blend.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It'll be fun. So there's that, and then I'm doing more of a friends and family thing where it's less formal and more fun, maybe a game or maybe bingo involved or something like that. Um, I have I have some other arranged readings through established poetry series, where I'm going to be the featured reader. So I'm working on that for a couple of people. I've got some book reviews out. I've got a wonderful interview with the Accelerated Cure Project, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes.
Um, so it's kind of whatever I want, we're
Yeah.
inventing the wheel. So
Yeah.
whenever
I love
I
it
make
though.
some kind of content that I can put out on the internet, webs that I
Right.
can, then link to, that people can go and see me
Mhm.
reading. I'm going to do some pre-recorded readings and some fun things for MS month. I'm going to pull some different quotes from my book and share those out every day. Um,
Excellent.
so just whatever I can think of that I can
Yeah.
do, and some things I just can't do, or I don't know enough.
Well, I love what you're doing, and just in kind of a global way, I am so here I try not let me start over. COVID's horrible. Can we all stipulate that? It's a horrible, horrible
Uh,
thing. However, there are some silver linings. And what I'm seeing is creativity coming out of people and
yeah.
businesses
Hmm.
that hadn't ever been forced to be creative before. And I'm loving what's happening. And I love that you've taken the typical book tour process and kind of flipped it and made it work for you. And it's lovely. I couldn't have come to your reading, but I was at a reading and I'm going to be at other
Yes.
readings. So I just think, yeah,
Yes.
bummer it didn't turn out to be what you initially, envisioned, but gosh, a lot of us are benefiting from the fact that you've had to flip it. And
Absolutely. No,
that
that's absolutely
wouldn't
true.
otherwise.
There is no way I would have been able to take my book on a tour to the East Coast because I'm in
Right.
Seattle. I would
Right.
all have to have been within the same state, really, more or less.
Yeah.
Maybe Portland or Vancouver, but I wouldn't have been able to do that. And so I had this open, launch party, and I had more people there than I probably would have had in a live reading. So
Yeah.
there's that. So in some ways, I can
Yeah. Very
encourage
cool.
people, but I still love there's a challenge to doing virtual things because like right now I'm not actually looking at you. I'm looking at this camera that looks like an eye,
Right.
and it's just not the same. I'd
That's not the
rather be able
same.
to look because when I do readings, I really like to look people right in the eye.
Yes.
So I'm
Right.
looking at an eye, but it's not human. Like,
Right. Right. I
not
know. And I
human.
should do that more. People have commented like I don't look at the camera because I get so like I can't stand it. I just look at the person I'm talking
I'm
to.
getting better. You get better at it. I used to put post-its all
Girl.
over my laptop. Just don't look here. Don't look.
Yes.
Arrows pointing at my camera.
Smart. That's smart.
It's
I
tricky.
don't
So
think
it's a learning curve for sure, but
I've been doing this for a long time. I still can't do it. There's you cannot make that dog hunt. I'm telling you right now. I'm giving up.
that's so
Um, so let's get to this accelerated cure project. You're donating your author proceeds from the
yes,
sale of this book to the accelerated cure project. Why
yes.
did you choose them? And can you tell everybody what they do?
What to do? Okay, so I chose them because I had participated in a couple of anthologies previously, which also sent their donations to the ACP, and I felt like when I started looking at different charities, there's quite a few really good ones, and I had to really make a decision. And I found that they seemed really supportive of artists' efforts to convey real world experience, lived experience with MS. And to me, that kind of merges two worlds. Then it merges the desire to help people, which has always been, that's kind of who I am too, with this act of creating something artful to share insight about an illness. So to me, it was like, oh, slam dunk, let's just do that. And what they do is really cool. So they put together the Accelerated Cure Project helps fund research, but not just throwing a check at researchers. They help like pull together information and data that researchers need to accelerate the process of research. And what it's
Yes,
turned
please.
out to be, it's excellent. It's really important because we're all waiting and waiting, and it just takes so much time. And so they're doing a lot of the kind of organizational work that can take a lot of time. So they're helping to fund that kind of thing. And then they also fund people with practical needs, like, they need cooling vests and all sorts of other things.
Right.
So to me, I just
Right.
really love that they're very proactive and really trying to keep the momentum going on research. And it turns out that the pandemic, another crappy thing about the pandemic is that on the one hand, this is a good thing. It's great. All the researchers, all their staff, all the clinical resources, everything is going to COVID. Totally makes sense. Don't ever,
Right.
but that means,
However, comma.
however, there's no money, staff, resources, or subjects or researchers to do any research on MS right now. And some things that were started, some projects that were started have either stalled out or been completely discontinued
Yeah.
because they required a period of time in order to, of consecutive time in order to complete the research. So there's just another, and that's not just for MS, it's for everybody. It's for
Yeah,
anything that's
across the
not
board.
COVID.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like never
Made
before
sense.
has MS research needed the Accelerated Cure Project to help keep them,
Right.
to jumpstart them when the time comes that they can, return
Yeah.
to what they're doing. So
Right.
yeah,
Which
that's why I think
hopefully
that,
is going to be soon.
yes, I
Here's
hope so.
hoping.
I mean, the whole vaccine thing, it's kind of a mess right now. Let's hope
It
that
is.
you know,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I won't even go there.
yeah, I mean,
So so I showed everybody. So if
yay.
you're listening to this, if you're listening to the audio podcast, we do have this up on the YouTube channel so you can see us chatting and you can
Oh,
see that I'm holding the book.
excellent.
Intention Tremor. Anyway, I do have it. I keep it next to my desk and it's all marked up. I've read this book cover to cover initially, and I do, like I said, keep it right next to my desk, and I'll open it up randomly to a page and just read it as a pick me up midday. The imagery that it conjures for me is so relatable. Plus, it's so fun because I know her. Like, I know the author. I feel like I'm big deal now because I know the author. So it just resonates with me on lots of levels. So even though I've read it all before, I do find something different every time I reread something of yours, which I think is really cool. It's like peeling. I It's like like a bloom or something that just keeps opening up and opening up, and every time I go, I just notice
Uh-huh.
something else about it. I
That's
think
sweet.
that's a sign not only of good writing, but the universality of the subject. So we all get this. We've all lived it, though in different ways. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't mind, would you please read The Expert for us? That one really speaks to me. I think it's going to speak to a lot of people, especially in this time of so many online experts. I'm using my
Yeah.
air quotes.
Yes. This was a piece that came out early. That was one of the first pieces I wrote.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and it makes sense if you think about it, because what do we do when we
Yeah. First
first are
thing,
diagnosed? Is we're looking for information, and so we go online because
Dr.
that's
Google.
Dr.
Yeah.
Google or web, whatever. And
Hmm.
so I did that myself. And then you join into forums, and then you have those experiences. And it's interesting. So many people now and during the pandemic are really ruining the challenges of having social discourse in social media that's, what I'm polite, polite discourse,
Yeah.
because we're finding that people, I don't know what, for whatever reasons, and we can that could be a whole other different discussion.
Right. It's another podcast.
We're really seeing kind of the worst and the best of who we are out in social
Mhm.
media.
Sure.
And so people during the pandemic now are like, oh, people are terrible. They're so mean and so uncaring. And I'm thinking, yeah, they've kind of been that way all this time. You just are now
Yeah.
noticing because now you're sick.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
when you go into an illness forum, there are people in there who are predatory, who will go in there and try to sell you stuff, will try
Yeah.
to tear you down, and it's volatile. So
Ugly. Yeah. It is
it's really
ugly.
ugly. So this is where
Yeah.
this came from. It was early on because I was really noticing, wow, some people have no shame, or they're just really
Yeah.
lacking compassion, or why are they here trolling sick people who really just need support? It's stunning. So
It
now
is stunning.
so writing a poem is a great way to capture that person and own them
Yes.
in a
Yeah.
sense. So this is what I
I
wrote, and
like
it's
that.
called
Okay.
The Expert. Oh, now that light on my camera is like, it creates a
It's
little
too much.
shadow. All right, okay. So The Expert. The expert sits online, overstimulated by blue spectrum light, scouring for evidence, though all he understands is purely anecdotal. The first person accounts, the stories from a friend of his sister's boyfriend's boss. He misinterprets clinical studies, decides 2 and 2 equal 5, wonders why science is taking so long to discover a capital C cure. He is not a biologist, but he might be a theologist. He does not know B cells from jail cells, from T cells, from killer cells, from supercells. He thinks the cure is known, locked in a cylinder in a vault in Antarctica, where nobody will ever find it except through an act of espionage. He thinks sick people are the cash cows of the corporation, that vaccines are for fools, that medicine is poison, big pharma the enemy. But vitamins are miracles, even when they cost you your electric bill. And if you drank special water, ate special diets, performed special yoga poses, the gut biome would reverse itself and eliminate your dis-ease. Our web evangelizer believes you will fall for his friendly profile picture, the posts about his dogs, his misspelled words, and conspiracy theories posted at hours when only insomniacs breed. Who knows who he really is? To be sure, we could all stand to look in the mirror to see who we are and who we are not.
Mm. Oh my God. That was totally so recognizable. I was stepping on my tongue not to interrupt you because I had
Ah,
little asides to say things.
Okay.
Yeah, that is really, and as we said earlier, this is beyond MS. I mean, anybody could
Oh, yeah.
recognize that jackass.
Absolutely.
Everybody's seen that jackass all
And
over
it's
social
beyond
media.
pandemic too. I mean, I wrote that 7
Yes,
years ago.
I know, I know. You said something
So
in there, oh, about the vaccines, and I'm like, I know this wasn't recently written, and
I know, isn't it
been going
funny?
on for a while. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I
old
mean, I think
patterns.
once you develop a chronic illness and are diagnosed and then have to live with whatever that entails,
Yes,
you just have a really different insight into the world. And so even through this pandemic, I feel like my chronic illness buddies, my spoonies, my spoonie
yes,
friends,
yeah,
we're all kind of over that part of it. We already have practice. I mean, I have always sort of
true,
self-isolated or quarantined myself during flu season. It's like nothing new.
right.
So, I mean, in a sense, we got a little advantage
Yeah.
on the rest of the community, right?
Yeah, it's
Want to
interesting.
call it
I
that.
I hadn't thought about this till you just said that. I need to go back and look because I wrote a blog post on FUMS right when this was first starting.
Okay.
And it was I've got to go look at, and I will link
Yeah,
to that
share it.
in the show notes too, but it was something like dear healthies, we're the chronics and welcome to our world. And it was the same idea.
Yes.
It was like, you
Yes.
people are freaked out now. Where you
Mhm.
been? Like, we got this shit down. Wash
Yeah.
your hands. Huh, what a novel idea, And, oh, you're scared because somebody just coughed next to you? Yeah, let me tell you, I've been walking that walk for 13 years now, And it
Right.
was like that. So I need to go back and look at that. I totally
Oh,
forgot
please
about
do.
that until you just said that. But I
You
will
know,
link to that in the show notes.
and here we are now in a place in the pandemic where now we know that there are people who are long haulers and they have
Yes. Oh
problems like,
God, yes.
neurological
Chronically.
problems, chronic problems that are never going to go away. And so really that I want to embrace them and bring them into our fold because we know what that's like.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they're going through that whole who am I? What is my identity in our bigger, social strata? Who am I
Yes.
a sick person or a healthy person? Because, and I actually just wrote a post about this for multiplesclerosis.net about this idea that the long haulers are kind of in a weird limbo. And my heart goes out to them because I can
Yes.
totally relate to that. People think, well, you survived COVID, you're fine. But they're not fine. They've got heart
Yeah.
conditions and neurological problems
Yes.
and other things that they
And
can't.
right. And it's invisible.
And
So
it's invisible, which is
you
mostly
look great.
yes, but at
You look
least it's not
great.
cancer.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, here we
Yeah.
go.
What does
They're
that mean?
I just feel so
Right.
bad because that's a gauntlet we all have to, run through
Yes.
at the beginning,
So
and
true.
it's hard.
So true. So true. Well, it is always a blast talking with you, Tamara. I
Oh,
really
so much
adore
fun.
you. And if people want to find out more about you and your work, where do they go?
Okay, so my website is tksellman.com. And then right at the very top of the page, you can't miss it. It says intention tremor, and you can go in there and find all the information you need to know about the books. The book, I actually have a lot of blog posts about it you can read through. You can buy my book through my website. And if you do, actually, here's a deal that I'd like to offer your listeners today. If you listen
Okay.
to this podcast today and you decide you want to buy my book, I'm going to send a copy of the book to you. If you have to order it through me, first of all, and it's a signed copy, so that makes it special.
Nice.
When you get that signed copy, you're also going to get this really cool, I don't have it with me right here. It's a little flash drive that looks like a copy of my book. It looks like my book, but
Oh,
it's,
cute.
and the bottom folds out and you can use it to transport files to your computer.
Oh, I
I have
love
one of those
that.
for free. So if you want to do that, go to
Oh,
tsellman, I think, .com, and I think it's /intention tremor. And you go in there and go to the main intention tremor page. And on the bottom, there's a place where you can actually order it through a PayPal link. And then there's a form at the bottom and just say FUMS. I heard you on FUM. Just mention it and I'll make sure and
excellent.
throw it in there for free.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. Thanks for hooking up the FUMS community. We appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Thank
I hope
you.
that hope that people do buy the book, obviously to support ACP, but also because I hope they can, will buy it and read it and find
Oh,
something will
it's
help
so
them.
great. I just think you'll identify with it. And like I said, every time I read it, I'm uplifted by it. I feel seen and heard. Like I'm
Oh,
like, how did she get in my head?
Okay.
And I see something different every time I read it again. So I highly encourage everybody to go do that.
Oh,
Um,
thank
so
you.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
For the time. I really appreciate that you had me on. I mean, it's
Oh,
my privilege
girl,
to.
come on back anytime. Love
Yes,
it.
definitely, definitely.
And I wish you great luck with this, as with
Thank you.
everything. And since this is your second visit here, I think you know what's coming, right?
I
Um,
do. Let's do it.
Yay. Okay. We here in the FUMS Nation speak to the stupid diseases it deserves, and we tell it FUMS every day. So, would you please lead us in the salute to MS with middle fingers extended, of course. Are you ready? On three. One, two, three.
FUMS.
Yay!
Yay!
That was a good one. That was a good one, double barreled and all. I love
Yes. Bam, bam.
it. Well, thank you so much, Hammer. Really appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks for writing this and sharing it. And
Oh, my
take good
pleasure.
care and come back and see us again.
I will. I will. Take care,
Thanks.
everybody. Be safe.